Assalamu alaikum. Hope you are all fine. So, in today's class, we will continue with what we left yesterday. So, yesterday we have discussed regarding what is an antenna, right? And we have seen some definitions and we have seen its mathematical representation. What are the losses involved in it? How they are represented? Okay. What are the issues when we are integrating the antenna with the communication system, right? So we have seen how a radiation is generated by an antenna. So we have seen the simpler case, that is using a single wire, how the radiation is generated. Either if there is a motion in the charge, there is acceleration in the charge is there, or there is a time varying current is available in the wire, then you can expect a radiation. But however, if the wire is straight and infinite in length, you will not have radiation. There are some characteristics in order to generate the radiation. The wire should be either curved, it should be either bent, discontinuous, grounded, or truncated. So these are the conclusions, right? We have seen in our last class, in yesterday's class. So apart from that, using two wire, which is the most general method, I would say how the radiation mechanism is generated is very comprehensively or easily explained in this YouTube link which I provided, and we have discussed by watching the video as well. So today we will start continuing regarding the types of antennas available. Actually, there are a lot of types मुख्तलिफ अलनवी मौजूद फिल antennas, but we can group them into 6 categories. In this course, we have grouped them into 6 categories. We will study one by one. Okay. So first one, wire antennas. Wire antennas are the very basic and familiar antennas. Maybe you can see everywhere you travel, maybe at your home. Let's say you take the Wi-Fi router, it has a dipole antenna. You take any toy car, it has some antenna on top of it, which is again a type of wire. Maybe in some olden cars, they have the wired kind of antennas. And most of the common type of antenna, what you will see is the wired type of antenna. So where we will use it, we will mostly see them in automobiles and also on buildings, ships, aircrafts, spacecrafts as well, and so on. And this application is very wide. So how does the wire antenna look like? Or what are the types of wire antennas? For example, dipole antenna, that is a wire whose center is fed by the source. This is a dipole antenna. In yesterday class we have seen. This is called circular antenna. Circular in the sense, instead of a straight line here, you will have the wire in the form of a circle. So is it necessary to always have circle to generate the radiation? No, it's not necessary. But it is a type of such variant. So even you can generate by this is a helix shape. This is called helix shape. Even the shape can be rectangle here like this instead of circle. Maybe it can be square like this instead of that, both of them you can have square. So all of them, they comes under wire antennas. It's not necessary they have the same exact circular, square or any other shape. Okay. However, in order to generate the radiation, these characteristic has to be met. Otherwise, you will not see the radiation. Okay, this is wire antennas. Second type of antennas is aperture antennas. Some good examples of aperture antennas are presented in the figure here on the right side of the slide. You can see this is a pyramidal horn. To be more precise, aperture antennas are mainly used at very high frequencies. For example, if you want to do a communication at 60 gigahertz, millimeter wave frequency, or maybe you want to go higher than millimeter wave frequencies. So you may notice these kind of antennas are used because these are highly directional in nature. Okay, so aperture antennas are highly directional in nature. Okay, so are you online or not yet? Okay, we have one student. Welcome, Safa. Okay, so we were discussing about the types of antennas. So aperture antennas. This is the second type of antenna. Okay, these are used in highly directional communications. Yani this radiation from these antennas will be highly directional in nature. For example, what do I mean by directional? So let's say I have three coordinate system like this: X, Y, and Z. This is the three spherical coordinate system. Okay. If my antenna is located at the center of this three spherical coordinate, let's say I have this horn antenna located here. So when I excite this antenna, the radiation will be most likely in the Y direction. And you will have the radiation pattern mostly seen, the electromagnetic radio waves, they travel in the Y direction. That is only in one direction. Instead of that, let us assume you are using maybe you are using the dipole antenna. You have a dipole antenna located at the center. So in this case, the radiation pattern may be in the X direction, and this is a full isotropic. You can see it is isotropic, and in all the directions, some part of the radiation is in X, some part of the radiation is in Z, and some part, no, there is no Y here. So you have two directions here, both X and Y. Whereas in the aperture antennas, you have only in one direction. That's why we call aperture antennas are highly directional in nature. Where do we apply them? These are especially used at high frequencies. These are used especially at high frequencies. Second, mostly we use them at aircraft and spacecraft applications because at very high frequencies are mostly used in airspace and spacecraft applications. Okay, this is second type of antenna. Next one, third type of antenna is microstrip antenna. Microstrip antenna is again another type of antenna which is very big, which has become popular since 1970s, and they are used for both government and commercial applications. Some examples of commercial applications are your mobile phones. So mostly in all mobile phones and any other handheld communication devices, you will see Microsoft, I mean microstrip antennas on them. They are very small in size. Maybe in yesterday video also you noticed that those antennas were very small in size. So how they are built? Basically, there will be one dielectric substrate, as you can see in this figure. هذا كامل white color, هذا كامل substrate. On this substrate, you will introduce one metallic patch. Okay, so and the length and width, this is again design specifications. We will see in detail when we go to the chapter. So when you introduce this metallical patch on it and you supply the voltage signal, that is electrical signal here, you can see the electromagnetic waves radiated around this patch. Okay, next is this patch should be in this shape only? هذا patch لازم موجود في هذا rectangle shape؟ ما لازم. ممكن patch موجود في circular، ممكن موجود في rectangular، أي مختلف shape ممكن. ما في مشكلة. بس هذا radiation characteristics مختلف. إذا هذا patch the design dimensions mukhtalif, the radiation characteristics also will become different. Okay, so where they are applied, where you can see them, you can see them on aircrafts, satellites, missiles, cars, even handheld mobile phones. Okay, but very popular are these two, rectangle and circular patch. These two are very popular. That's why I show you these two figures. Next is the array antennas. Array antennas are another type of antennas. When do we use these array antennas? Especially in some applications, especially the characteristics or the radiation pattern of a single antenna. For example, you have a dipole antenna like this. The radiation characteristics of this antenna may not be sufficient for your application. Maybe you need another dipole in the same substrate. Maybe you need third dipole. You need multiple antennas in the same region. So such kind of arrangement, such kind of placement on the substrate by some distance, such kind of geometrical arrangement, we call it as array antennas. So any good examples are shown in this figure. This is one widely used or maybe practically seen antenna, Yagi-Uda antenna. Maybe you see this in all your homes in very old times to receive the TV signal, right? So you can see this is all dipole antennas. How many dipole antennas you have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 dipole antennas. They are separated by some specific distance. This distance will remain constant. It will not change. So this one is where you can connect your TV signal. These are known as directors. I will show you how we can design this later in later lectures. These 4 dipole antennas will reflect the receiving signal. Yani they are directors. Whatever the signal coming from the space, they will receive and further direct to the center one. Reflector, maybe some signals are coming from this side. It will reflect back to the director. From director, it will come to the central dipole. This is aperture. Aperture means these antennas. We use multiple of them in a single area to increase the radiation characteristics in particular direction, in only one direction. For example, here we have 3 coordinate system. Let's say this is my X, Y, and Z. When I was using just one antenna, my radiation was up to this limit only, up to this distance only. If I use 4 more antennas, I am able to increase the radiation characteristics to furthermore. Now you can see how much the distance increased, highly increased. So using array antennas, we can increase the radiation of an antenna for further distance or in one particular direction. In simple language, we can say maximum in a particular direction. And you can see in other directions, is there any radiation this in Y direction? No. In Z direction? No. In only one direction, you can increase the radiation characteristics. This is why we use array antennas. Where do we apply them? Almost everywhere, again, in your homes, in spacecraft applications, even in aircraft applications, you will find this, especially in mobile applications. Nowadays, 5G communication, it is expected that our mobile phones are expected to have like multiple hundreds of antennas in your mobile phone, 5G mobile phones, future mobile. Even now 4G has this multiple array antennas, 36 by 36, 48 by 48. That means you have 48 antennas in one row and 48 antennas in the column, row, column. So that's how these things are getting advanced these days. In future, we may expect 128 multiplied by 120. You have 128 antennas in just one row. Another 128 antennas in one column, like this. Huge number of antennas. So this is getting more advanced in the future communication field. Next is the reflector antennas. Reflector antennas, I would say this is very popular these days because all your DTH, you know DTH, right? Direct to home television. For example, show you in the Google. DTH antenna. See, this is all example of reflector antennas. This is a reflector antenna. So what does this reflector antenna has? It will have one plate like this. You can see this is the plate, and here you have the feeder. You have a plate like this, and here you have the feeder. So this feeder, so whatever the electromagnetic waves comes and touches this plate, they will be reflected. They will be reflected back to the feeder. From the feeder, you will have one wire coming to your home in TV for TV signal. This has become popular for high quality for HD television. You can get television signal using a Yagi-Uda antenna array also. Even a single dipole will help you to receive the signal. But the problem there is the quality will not be good. If you use these antennas, they are high. They are used in high quality. So for HD television, for full HD, we use these kind of antennas. That's why most of the DTH now we are using these antennas. And also in satellite communications, parabolic antenna. See this one, Ala Kabir. This is used in satellite. This is an example of reflector antenna in satellite communications. Maybe this diameter will range around 200 meters like this. Very huge antennas. Okay. So the success in the exploration, this all started with the exploration of outer space only. These kind of antennas are resultant in the advanced theory. So very common of such forms is shown here. This is all whatever antennas I showed you in before in the Google Chrome. That is those DTH and space antennas. They are all examples of reflector antennas, parabolic. So wherein you have one plate like this to reflect those rays to the feeder. So that if the feeder is arranged like this configuration we call it as parabolic reflector with front feed. Yani the feed will be front. Best example is your DTH television, right? Second, parabolic reflector with Cassegrain feed. Cassegrain feed, this is space, that one which I showed you here, space antenna, the big, huge size antenna. This is also a parabolic reflector, but the feed here, this is known as Cassegrain feed. So first the rays comes from the feed and goes to the sub reflector, and again further they are go and touch to the main reflector, and from there it will go into the outer space. Okay. And third one is the cornel reflector. This is not very much common these days. We are not using much this one, but this is also a type, but mostly we use these two types of reflector antennas. Okay, next the last antenna. The last type of antennas is lens antennas. Lens antennas are primarily used. See, the lens antennas are primarily used to collimate incident divert energy to prevent it spreading in undesired directions. So for example, I have written one paper also in the journal. You can find the, okay, I will tell about that later. So first of all, you can see this is the lens. Lens means like a glass. Okay. So if you apply the source, that is the electromagnetic waves pass through this lens, we can see all the electromagnetic waves, they get spreaded uniformly and go in one direction only. If you have the shape of the lens like this is called convex lens type of antenna. If you have the shape of the lens, all the purpose is same. They are used to send the electromagnetic waves in particular direction, in one direction, and to remove from another direction, undesired direction. But the shape of the lens usage is different. You can see in this figure, there are 6 types of lenses I have shown here. This is convex plane. This is convex. Yani you have 2 convexes here. Convex and concave here. You have convex and concave, very small in diameter. You have concave here. Concave. You know one thing, the beauty of this lens antennas, if you send the rays this side, and from the other side, if you transmit the electromagnetic waves, what happens? These rays, they will, instead of spreading uniformly, they will also collimate. Collimate means join like this. And to one particular point, all the rays will come and join the one particular point. So if you need a refraction because the problem in lens antennas is the size of this lens will be very high at low frequency. Why we cannot use in our mobile phones and TV stations or radio stations? Because if you use this lens antenna at those frequencies, which is very low frequency, the size of those lens will be very large. We need very big glass. So whose refraction index will be greater than 1. Basically, these 3 shapes, they have refraction index greater than 1. These 3 shapes, they have refraction index less than 1. But if you go for high frequency, let's say for millimeter wave frequency, 60 gigahertz antenna, the size of the lens antenna, that is the thickness of the lens, it will become very small. So discussing on this parameter, I have written one paper in the journal, so which I would like to share with you. So maybe you want to read more about this if you are interested. Okay, integrated or antenna. I have mixed 2 antennas, aperture antenna and also horn antenna. This is my article. I have written this article. You can see my name here. So there are 2-3 paper citations as well. PDF. Yeah, this one. So you can see here, this is the antenna I have simulated, horn antenna, cylindrical cone horn antenna. And for this, I have integrated, you can see in this box, I have integrated the lens inside it. So what happened as a result? The radiation, the directivity, the radiation characteristics have increased further. So it's a very interesting, then I applied this onto some platform wherein I got some results, very interesting things I have written here. If you are interested, please go ahead and read this journal here. Thank you very much. Okay, so this is what the first chapter is about, the introduction. Now let us go in detail and learn the antenna parameters. So before we go ahead, I would like to ask you if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. You have any questions, dear? You can unmute your mic and you can ask questions. Are you there? Are you there? So you just open it and you left, or what? Or you have some problem? Okay, we got one reply. Ahud, any questions, please? No questions? Fine. So let's move to the next topic. This is chapter 2. Antenna parameters. I would say this is a very lengthy chapter also, and there are very many important things in this chapter. There are problems to solve. There are basic fundamentals to understand the antenna performance, its characteristics. So this chapter, I would say, it's very important. Once you gain enough knowledge from this chapter, the same things are applied to different kinds of antenna. For example, if you want to measure the performance of any type of antenna, any wire antenna, aperture antenna, uh, any kind of antenna, reflector antenna, any antenna, we usually measure three parameters. First one is gain. How much gain we get from it? What is its efficiency? Okay, and third one is directivity. These are very three important and most common parameters whenever any company, anyone who designs any antenna, or as engineer, if you want to design antennas, you mainly focus on these three things. However, related to these three parameters, there are other parameters also. So we will try to study them one by one. So to describe the performance of an antenna, definitions of various parameters are necessary. So to understand the performance of an antenna, we have to know those parameters and their definitions which are necessary. Although not all of them are interrelated, but we need to have at least some idea so that we can have a complete description of the antenna performance. Okay. So one among them is the very first parameter we have to learn is what is a radiation pattern. Very important. So all those figures before I showed you in that journal, if you see, there was some figure, right? Some radiation pattern. Basically, I have here, yeah, this one. So when I excite, when I take an antenna and supply with some electrical signal, it will release the electromagnetic waves. That electromagnetic waves, how they travel in the free space in a three-dimensional coordinate system. If I apply the three-dimensional coordinate system, how those electromagnetic waves travel. If you look at that shape, this shape, we call this shape as radiation pattern, simple language. So what is a radiation pattern? A radiation pattern is defined as mathematical function or a graphical representation. Either you can represent by mathematics or a graphical representation, which we mostly use. We go for graphical rather than representing mathematical. Graphical representation of the radiation properties of an antenna, such as function of space coordinates. So in this figure, you can see I have taken one antenna and I excite with the electrical signal. So this is the radiation pattern I have observed, which means the electromagnetic radiation waves are traveling in this direction. So how they are located, everything, these are we will see all this. What is sine theta? Sine theta is the radiation pattern of this globe mathematically. So this is called the solid angle. So we will see all these parameters later. For just now, you can understand it is a graphical representation of the radiation properties of an antenna as a function of space coordinates. What is space coordinates? This x, y, and z, this is all comes under your general Cartesian space coordinates, right? So if you represent graphically the radiation characteristics of an antenna in the space coordinates, that is known as radiation pattern. Simple definition. Next, radiation property of most concern is two-dimensional or three-dimensional. In this figure, what you are seeing is three-dimensional, 3D view. 2D view, it will look like this, two-dimensional view. Only in X and Y you measure, that's it. This is three-dimensional. So the radiation property of most concern is the two or three-dimensional spatial distribution of the radiation energy as a function of the observer position along a path or surface of the constant radius r. So basically it's the same meaning what I explained. So you can take some antenna, and in this antenna, when you excite with an electrical signal, where the electromagnetic waves are traveling in the coordinate system or the coordinate space. So that one we call it as radiation pattern. Next. So this radiation pattern, this graph what you are seeing, it can be represented in two forms. First form, it is known as amplitude field pattern. Second one, it is known as power pattern. Okay, so first let's see what is amplitude. This is amplitude field pattern. Second one, amplitude power pattern. You can represent the radiation properties of an antenna in the space coordinates in two ways, either by measuring the amplitude, either by representing the power. If it is amplitude, it will be normalized way. Yani it will be like normal waves, like 0.5, 1, 2, 3, 4, like these values without any unit. If you represent in power pattern, in this figure you can see the unit will be decibel. You will be in C in dB. So this is the power pattern. This is the example of power pattern. This figure, the same antenna radiation properties. If you represent in power scale, that is known as amplitude power pattern. If you represent only in the amplitude values, that is known as amplitude field pattern. Okay. And the unit for amplitude pattern, there are no units for amplitude, but however for power pattern you have units decibel. Okay. So the more clear explanation is written here for you to study. For an antenna, the field pattern typically represents a plot of the magnitude of the electric or magnetic field as a function of angular space. So see this example here. This is the example of field pattern. So what we have here on the y-axis here, you have the electrical field measurement. That is the electrical field or magnetic field measure. Here we usually take electrical field. So if you represent the scale like this and see the radiation characteristics, these kind of plot, these graph, we call it as field pattern graph. Next, power pattern, again it can be of two types actually. It can be in linear scale or logarithmic scale. If it is in linear scale, it represents the plot of square of the magnitude. Here you will take the square. Here just you represent the magnitude of the electrical or magnetic field. Here it is represented in electrical field. Idana iktabhina graph istamal electrical field bus. Okay, we use only electrical field here. That measurement, the magnitude of that electrical field, that is known as field pattern. In power pattern, you can represent in two ways. Either you have in normal like this, okay, in amplitude, that is magnitude form, or either you can represent in logarithmic form. The why we go for logarithm, the reason is you can accommodate more values in a smaller region, right? This is the basic why we go for logarithms. So in power pattern, here we just take the square of this one. Whatever the pattern, whatever the points you are seeing here, whatever the points you are seeing here, You take the square of that one and represent in the same scale. So that one we call it as power pattern in linear scale. If you apply in logarithm, in dB represents the magnitude of the electrical field in decibels as a function of angular space. So you can see this is the angular space, right? So if they are in dB, so that representation we call it as power pattern in dB. Okay, I hope it is clear now. So to explain those 3 points, this is the example here given here. This is for what antenna? This is a 10 element linear array antenna. There is one 10 element linear array antenna. We have taken one example, which are separated by 0.25 lambda. This is the distance between each antenna. For example, let me assume I have 10 dipole antenna. So I have 10 dipole antennas like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So the distance between them is 0.25 lambda. So after I do the radiation, that is, I observe the radiation characteristics of this antenna after I excite it, I have observed its radiation in 2D graph. If it is in linear scale, it will be like this. In power, you have two variants. If it is in linear scale, it will be just square of the magnitude. In dB, it will look like this. Okay. Next, another important point here to discuss is, you may notice here there is HPBW. Everywhere there is HPBW. What is this HPBW? This is the standard definition. We will see in detail in beam width concept. But for now, you just know the definition here. HPBW means half power beam width. Half power beam width. So how to find this half power beam width? Half power beam width is nothing but the angular separation. So for example, if you are having a field pattern graph, then it is 0.707 value of its maximum. So what is the maximum here? The maximum intensity of the electrical field is 1. For this maximum value, you need to multiply by 0.707. So 0.707 multiplied by 1 is same, 1 by root 2, right? So at that point, 0.707, where they are there on the radiation pattern graph, you will locate those points on the graph on both sides of the magnitude plot. And you will draw one straight line from the origin, from the feeder. So how much of angular separation, how much angle is there between these two lines? This is known as half power beam width. This is why you might be thinking why it is necessary or why it is important. We will discuss that later. It is important because it will help us to measure the side lobe level. So if the side lobe level is less, that means that is a good antenna. That means you have good radiation characteristics. If this half power beam width is very large, that means side lobe level is also large. As a result, we have to reduce them. So these are all advanced topics for us. For now, just let us understand that half power beam width, if it is an amplitude scale pattern, you will just multiply by 0.707 with the maximum value. In power pattern scale, it is 0.5 of its maximum value. So you can see here 0.5 of its maximum value. 0.5 means somewhere it will come around here. So this is the point and this is the point. So when we draw the dotted lines, how much angular separation is there between these two? This is your half power beam width. If you have a graph, that is the power pattern in dB, in decibels. If you have the graph in decibels, then how can you calculate the half power beam width? It is nothing but the angular separation between the points where the power level is at minus 3 dB. Straightly you will locate where is minus 3 dB here. Roughly in this graph you can see it will come somewhere around here. In this graph roughly it will come somewhere around here. Okay, so if you check these points, between this angular separation, how much of angle is there? This value we call it as half power beamwidth. So depending on the type of logarithm scale, you can actually calculate the half power beamwidth graphically like this. So one more time, if it is field pattern, you will multiply 0.707, multiply the maximum value. If it is power pattern, you will multiply by 0.5. If it is logarithm plot, you will just find out at minus 3 dB point. Okay. Okay, this is the radiation pattern characteristics. Now inside again we have some subtopics. So this one is known as radiation lobes, radiation pattern lobes. Okay, so before we discuss this, I would like to ask if you have any questions. You can unmute your mic and you can ask me questions, or you can chat here as well. So it's clear? माफी सवाल शबाबिन? Okay, tamam. Okay, in that case, let's do one activity right now. Where is the Moodle? I will ask one question in the Moodle. Try to answer that question, please. Okay, from here. Okay, let's post one question now. A choice. Let's do one choice question quickly. Power pattern. Yes, here. Where will be the half power beamwidth? No more than one choice to be selected. No. Limit the number of responses allowed. Yes. So it will be just option. So let's say 0.707. Five. Minus 3 dB. Option 4. Don't need all this. Okay, save and return. Okay, students, can you just click this link in the Moodle? If you are, all of you are here, right? So can you just click this link here? Okay, if you click this link, there is a question here. In power pattern linear scale, where will be the half power beamwidth points? So option A, 0.707, option B, 0.5, option C, minus 3 dB, option 4, all the above. So can you choose one answer here? Let's see how many of you have understood the topic. Can you do this now, please?
Okay, Mr. Okay.
Okay. Still, I have 0 responses. So once I get 3 responses, we will see who choose the correct answer. Don't discuss between each of you. Huh? Just be honest. Okay, there is one response. We'll wait for the other 2 students as well. We'll give you 1 more minute to think and answer. Please answer by within 1 minute. Okay, let's see the responses. Only one response. What about the other 2 students? 0.707. So this makes me think that other students are not here. You just opened the meeting or you left or what? You are not engaged. One student has responded. So she says that it is 0.707. Actually, this is also wrong because we clearly discussed here. See, if it is power pattern in a linear dB scale, what will be its half power beamwidth will be at 0.5, not 0.707. If it is field pattern scale, any amplitude pattern, magnitude of the electrical signal, in that case it will be 0.707. In power, if it is a normal pattern in linear scale, it will be 0.5. If it is in logarithm, it will be minus 3 dB. Okay. So please focus during the class. Next one is the radiation pattern. In the radiation pattern itself, we have another topic, subtopic. This is known as radiation pattern lobes. These slides, they are not in the Moodle right now, but today I will upload them. I have to add some more information and I will upload. Okay. Radiation pattern lobes. So whenever you observe the radiation pattern of an antenna, you may see some shape like this circular balloon shape. And again, here you have some other shape, small balloons here. So what we call them, this is nothing but radiation, electromagnetic waves going in that direction. Technically, we call this one as lobes. Technically, we call this one as lobes. So basically, if you take any antenna and its radiation pattern or characteristics, we can subdivide that radiation characteristics into these following types, 4 types. What are they? We have major lobes, we have major or main, both are same, major or main lobe. You have minor lobe, then you have side lobe and back lobes. So what is a major lobe or also known as main lobe? What is it? It is defined as the radiation lobe containing the direction of maximum radiation. So if you see in this figure, where is the maximum radiation here? Where wagid mujud hina radiation? Hada lobes, hada lobe. So that's why we call this as major lobe or main lobe. Next, minor lobe. What is minor lobe? Other than major lobe. It can be all these lobes. Other than major lobe, all other lobes, they are known as minor lobes. What is a side lobe? Side lobe, it is a radiation lobe in any direction other than the intended lobe. Usually, the main explanation is written here. Usually, a side lobe is adjacent to the main lobe and occupies the hemisphere in the direction of the main beam, which means, you see here, this is the direction of the main beam, right? This is going here. What lobes are there side to it? The lobes which are connected or present side of this main lobe, these two we call it as side lobe. Okay. And the last one is the back lobe. A back lobe is a radiation lobe whose axis makes an angle of approximately 180 degrees. So a lobe, that means this lobe here, this is making an angle of approximately 180 degrees to the major lobe here. So where is the major lobe? This is the major lobe. It is making an angle of 180 degrees exactly to the major lobe here, right? So this one, we call it as back lobe. Okay. Maratani. The main direction, hada vesh kalula, major lobe or main lobe. Lobe hada mojud exactly opposite to this, opposite, yani 180 degrees opposite. Hada vesh kalula, back lobe. Ida lobes mojud bas adjacent, yani side, which are present to the side of the main lobe. This is known as side lobe. Other than the main lobe, khali hada main lobe, baki hada kullu lobe, hada vesh kalula, hada minor lobes. Okay. So I hope now it is clear. So this is about the lobes concept. Next topic, we have field regions. Before we go into the field regions, let me post one more question here regarding the radiation pattern lobes. Let's see if you have understood it or what. Okay. This time, let me add something. Okay, let's say forum. Let me post a question here. Question. Can I call side lobe as a minor lobe? This is a simple question. Can I call side lobe as a minor lobe? Standard. Simple. Okay, let's make it like this. No, I want attachment. I just want a discussion. Post one discussion. Need attachment here. Each person post one discussion. A simple discussion. Okay. Question session. Okay, now you can see here inside the forum, there is a question here. Can I call side lobe as a major lobe? This is the question. You can reply to this, please. Is it S? Can I call? Someone made a chat. We want all chapter before lesson start. Okay, but actually I am still making this, so that's why I couldn't give you. From next time, we'll try to do that, no problem. Okay, please go back to your Moodle. And can you answer to this question, please? Can I call side lobe as a major lobe? So can I say in this figure, side lobe is also a minor lobe? Can I say this? Yes or no? I'm waiting for your reply. Just go here, question session, and then just do your reply here. You can just type here your reply, submit. So far, no answers. Please answer the forum question in the sorry, the mobile screen is this one, not model. Please answer the forum question in the Moodle now. Can you answer, please? Three of you. So can I call side lobe as a major lobe? No answers. Strange. Yes, students, are you hearing me? Are you with me or what? You just opened the meeting and you left. So if you don't answer, I think I will consider that you just left. You are not actively participating in the session. No reply. Okay, so wait a little longer. Okay, just you can answer those questions. By the way, the time is finished. So we'll continue in the next class regarding the fields, steradian, and then we have beamwidth, directivity, and I will try to post this slides today, inshallah. Okay. Okay. Thank you very much for your attention. See you later. I hope I have started recording it.